Hello, hello. Oh, welcome, everyone. Hi, Erin. Yay, Christine, you're here. Perfect. I'll bring you. Hello. Hi, Erin. Other Erin. There's two Erins. I love it. Hi, love. Hey, there you are.
Your camera is a little bit lower.
Can you see me?
That's the thing with Instagram. It changes the level of the camera. Yeah, I can see you. Hi, hi. How are you, Carine?
Hello. Oh my God. I'm good. It's been putting on this ecstasy experience that we're going to talk a little bit about later has been a labor of love and a lot of pleasure coming through it, but also so many moving parts that bring up so much. And it's very interesting to sort of notice that when you're kind of up leveling or you're offering something and you're in service to the collective, all of your shit comes to the surface, like all of the things that you're meant to teach. It's like you almost get tested on it. So everything around the event, and it's like also full moon today, full moon in Aries in Western astrology, but you're more familiar with Vedic. So I think you mentioned Pisces.
Yeah, not Vedic, but True Sky Sidereal. It's in Pisces today. So I think it's just good to know both. Like Pisces is water element, very emotional. Aries is fire. Are you pissed off? Are you moving through like deep emotional stuff? But even with Mars and Pluto, they're neck and neck right now for a long time. It's next year. It's all about an emotional purge. Like what is really bothering you in your world right now? It's a time to say something. Otherwise, it's going to fester, and I call mine Dragon Lady when she comes out. uh, yeah, we'll be there.
Aries is all about also like the warrior energy, right? It's speaking your
Yeah,
truth, doing things that aren't in alignment with your soul's path. Like what is something that's been like nagging at you and that you're holding back and you're not saying it, you're not doing it, or you're not moving forward on your path? Like what is holding you back? And Aries is all about roar, hear me roar, let me just do it.
and fire around passion, which is what we're going to talk about today, right? Passion, pleasure, desire, ecstasy.
Yeah, it's funny when I created the Facebook group for this event, I couldn't put in the vanity URL that you create. Facebook Meta wouldn't allow me to put the word ecstasy because of, I guess, the drug. That's what I'm assuming it is. Or it's like we have to censor ourselves in so many ways. It's like the word ecstasy, we can't even use it in our, marketing materials and all of that stuff. And I noticed sometimes the posts where even the mention of the word sex or it has to be xed out and censored. And I'm like, why do we have to censor our
Yeah.
own our own pleasure and our orgasmic nature? That is our innate birthright, right? So this is why we've come together today to really spread the message. And I know when you sent me the message of like, what do we want the listeners and these women and attending this live and the event, what do we want them to walk away with? And the first thing that I kind of tuned into was really accepting and acknowledging, really knowing that this ecstasy, this pleasure, and this orgasmic way of living and being is accessible and available to everybody. It is not a pipe dream. It is not something that happens to other people and other women, right? And if you can walk away from this live today, knowing deep within you, like that embodied, right, and knowing and wisdom that, fuck, this is available to me. This is accessible to me because we are all able to experience that inner ecstasy. It's not the outer ecstasy. We have outer joy. It's the inner ecstasy, like feeling that pleasure, that joy within us just because we're alive. It's that ecstatic aliveness, right? And that's our birthright.
So good. I looked up ecstasy just to see what the search machine would bring up, and immediately went to the drug. And I'm like, this is sad, that we can't even learn about what the dictionary meaning of the word is without it being connected to something that, is an altered state of mind where you can do that if, if that's your choice, but you can also create your own altered natural state of mind within the body that brings you that same kind of emotion, pleasure, but I would say without the consequence, without, whatever the hit would be after, which is really good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if anybody has any questions, please drop it in the comments. We're happy to support you. We're here to hold that space for you. And maybe just ask yourself the question, if you feel good about answering it in the comments, go for it, is what does ecstasy mean to you? What does,
Mm.
if I say the word ecstasy or ecstatic aliveness, what comes up for you? And feel it in your body. This is a large piece of the work you and I both do, which is why we're in such alignment, is really feeling it in the body, really feeling it in the soma. It is not outside of you. Where do you feel? Ask you, what does ecstasy mean to you? What does ecstasy feel like? Drop into your body for a moment and see where you feel it in your body. Is there tightness? Is there pleasure around that word, that sensation? Is there resistance? Do you feel like, even like some people can feel like this nausea, this wanting to throw up? Is there coughing? Is there crying? Is there emotion around it? Is there heaviness? Just notice. I invite you to, for a moment, notice what that word, that feeling of ecstasy brings up for you. Because a lot of times we tend, especially in spiritual work, right? It's like, oh, let's call in on our divine guides and our angels. It's all outside of us. Come back to the body. Those energies are here to support us. That's wonderful. It's beautiful. Let's use all of our resources, right? Whether it's herbs, plant medicine, the food we eat, the nourishment. I was sitting right before this live. I was sitting outside in the sun and just soaking in the rays. And I'm like, I feel that pleasure and that joy. So yes, external circumstances and things in our environment can amplify the joy and the ecstasy and the pleasure that we already have within us.
Mm.
Otherwise, that pleasure and that ecstasy is fleeting. It's just fleeting, right? It's not truly real. It's not truly innate, right? So I would love to hear from you guys. So how does that feel for you? How did that feel for you? What comes up for you when you hear the word ecstasy and pleasure and joy and orgasm?
Mine comes, I feel it from my heart, like my heart expanding and comes up into a head, like, yeah, a natural high for me in that sense. And I feel it's like head, heart, hoo-ha, alignment and coherence. It's the connection to the body. And you can have that ecstasy for, a party that you're throwing, or a friend is coming to visit that you haven't seen in a long time, or connecting to the body. But I think this is a really important message, is to know where you feel it in your body, because then you will recognize it when it comes, as opposed to just pushing it away, doing the busy work. And when you are presented with something that maybe is a little bit more challenging or heavy, you can hold, I like polarities. You can hold the polarity of the heaviness and what's there, it's there to show you something, but then you can process that and then shift into what would ecstasy or pleasure or delight even feel like in this moment. And you'll already know where your ecstasy is in your body. So you'll easily be able to transmute that heaviness into what it is that you really want to hold in this moment that is going to move you forward versus, leave you in a heavier state, depending on what's going
I love,
on.
love
Mm-hmm.
that. I love that. And it is that being, in that awareness, in that presence is so important, being present to what is happening in your body, but with so much love and self-compassion and no judgment, and just like observing it from a neutral standpoint. Generally what happens when we're faced with challenging situations is we try to leave our bodies, right? That is our natural, the nervous system response. It's like fight or flight, right? Fawn, all of these nervous system responses have us leaving our bodies a lot of times because it feels hella hard being in our bodies when we're going through a process, right? It happens to all of us. I mean, we do this work and I find myself leaving my body sometimes, and I have to consciously be aware of the fact that I have left my body. And this is the work that we do, right? It's consciously, mindfully coming back into our bodies and going, all right, I'm going to feel this. It is okay. I am safe. And a lot of the work you and I do is very aligned, where we want the clients and our students to feel safe in their bodies, right? Feeling safe to come back into our bodies and feeling safe to feel all of the feels and all of the emotions and all of the pain and all of the things, right? And once we're there and we feel it through the energy of ecstasy and pleasure, we can actually alchemize and transmute that stuff. It
Mm, awesome.
it was like a big revelation for me years ago when I started doing this work, when I realized that the very thing that I was told was sinful and shameful, right? Our pleasure, our ecstasy, all of it, shame, 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 shame. And, I know you want to talk a little bit about religion too, which is, I would love
Yeah.
to pass, the mic on to you, talk a little about the religious shame as well, that blocks us from feeling the very thing that is healing and that is alchemizing. Pleasure
Mm,
can alchemize trauma, right? Holy shit, right? It's like we can actually experience pleasure and fun as we're healing trauma, ancestral crap. Like, what? you know?
mm,
So I would love to maybe talk about that a little bit. And I know you have your own like incredible story around religious shame and how it held you back from really experiencing that bliss, right?
totally. And I love how there's fire emojis that are popping up once you start talking about shame and taboo and religion. Because I always look at like why, where did it come from? One of the stats that was really, I would say, important to me in the beginning of learning this work is that 60% of women have a hard time having an orgasm. 60% of women haven't had like full, proper, full body, right? Just know one or two ways. And we have over 13 ways of being able to experience that. And so that then I just automatically go to why. Where would that come from? And of course, it totally comes from our conditioning, what we've been taught, don't have sex before marriage, you're a whore, and all these different kinds of names, whether it's in religion or not. And, I grew up heavily in religion for 40 years, whether it was Jehovah's Witness, Catholic high school, Baptist marriage and divorce, till I started to figure out what do I believe, and what really resonates more for myself that can help me versus all this shaming and fear and who are you? And I make a joke to my mom. I said, you put the chastity belt on us, me and my sister, and then no one gave us the key. And so I was married at a time, but I'm like, you're supposed to be this, sex goddess in the bedroom for your husband. And it's like, how? No one has taught you, right? So it's like all these big learns, but really a lot of it is unhooking on where did your story of pleasure or, whether it's taboo or whatever you're feeling around that. I really, encourage you to look at where is the root? Where did it come from? Where do I hide? Because that is where your greatest medicine is, and where you will feel such liberation that it'll just catapult you into other dimensions or into other feelings, because you're like, okay, it's really just a decision. And I always tell clients, with my hands like this, it's like, make a decision right now where you choose to move forward, and you don't need to hold on to that old programming, because it's not really who you are. Ecstasy, delight, pleasure, all of that is our birthright, not based on something anyone else has told us, or maybe a negative experience we've had where we don't show up fully. And I was so grateful to find you through the Tantra Festival, the Toronto Tantra Festival, because from religion for sure, had a hard time with being vocal around anything pleasure or sexuality and sensuality and that sort of thing. Hearing my mom when I was 11, it was like, oh, I don't want to sound weird or, like that. And so it really shut down that part of myself, my body. And working with you has been such a joy, because you're so fiery, that Leo energy, but also like you really give women this beautiful invitation to be able to like expand and open ourselves up in a way that isn't shameful, isn't taboo, isn't something, that I can't share openly with other people. It depends obviously on the audience, but it's so beautiful, and it's just like this opening of the rose. And so I'm
Mm.
beyond grateful that our worlds, came together, because you just helped me so much in the 2 years that I've known you, and working together with Tantra retreat, a Tantra certification, all of that, to really help myself to open, expand first. I do this work because it was also my work that I needed to do, but then, the roads and the beautiful things that opened up from it.
Mm. I love it. Yeah, tons.
Yeah.
life-changing. And we don't realize how many blocks to bliss we have, right?
Mm.
Those blocks come from so many layers where it's the religious shame, which I had as well. I grew up, in the church and being told by our school principal to close my legs because God doesn't like it when we open our legs. So you grow
Wow.
up with that narrative of shame. You carry that. I carried that into my marriage and then that fell apart, right? There's so many layers, but it could be being catcalled, right? Being told by your father that your skirt is too short and you're showing too much skin. There's so many layers, and there's little trauma and there's big trauma, right? So there's abuse and violence and rape, and there's so many layers. This is so loaded, right? These blocks to bliss comes from so many sources, and we don't realize it. Healthy Helen says, great topic, sexuality and religion, unwiring the taboo. Absolutely. And Amy Ann, one of our speakers in the Ecstasy Experience, brilliant, beautiful, dear soul sister of mine and powerful teacher, Tantra facilitator, she is going to cover that. She's going to talk about how she went from being a little, good girl, the Catholic good girl, to being liberated and expanded and in her power as a woman. So this is going to be a very important topic to listen to. And Zuma Solomon, how do you know you are in that state, especially to feel your parents' happiness? That's a good one. So I can answer that, and then Christine, if you want to add to it as well. One
Hey, Solomon.
love asking, and the part of being embodied, part of really feeling what's in the soma, in the body, in the physical body, is asking yourself, is this mine? Right? Really into that. I do that often when sometimes I'll feel like a wave of sadness or wave of joy, and we are very empathic. We pick up on other people's stuff. We pick up on the collective shit. And so in that moment, it's like, is this mine? And you'll get the answer. You'll know if this is your joy you're feeling, or sadness or anxiety, all of that stuff. Sometimes out of the blue, I'll have my heart just racing and I'll get anxiety, and I'm like, this isn't mine. Let's clear it, right? How do you know you're in that ecstatic state? That's a beautiful question, right? That's a beautiful question. For me, it's feeling just that deep joy and gratitude for life and that aliveness, just because there's nothing externally in my environment or the circumstances of my life that is responsible for that pure joy. I'm just in that state of pure, unwavering joy and bliss just for being alive, just for existing, just looking around you and seeing the beauty literally in everything, seeing the beauty in your own pain, seeing the beauty in the chaos and the mess, just being in that full flow and ecstatic flow, or that trust and surrender that everything is just lining up for me so beautifully, even the mess and the chaos. It's never perfect. There's no such thing. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like for just your beingness and your existence and being so fucking grateful for everything, where you are, what's occurring, where you're going, and just being in that joy, right? And that doesn't bypassing the shit. I'm bypassing the pain. I'm feeling all of it, but there's an ecstasy to it. It's almost like the thing that comes to me is, how some women have orgasmic births and ecstatic births, right? So even though there is pain, there is that pushing and that rebirth through that death portal that you're going through, and you're rebirthing, but you're having an orgasmic ecstatic experience through that rebirthing, right? So that's kind of the best way I can sort of describe it. So I'll pass it on to you, Christine, and see what.
I got goosebumps. Oh, yeah, just imagining that. I would say it's when you're not in fear, when you are in love, right? And you can't hold that state all of the time where, this is reality. So I think it is even in the mess and the magic, as Reva Wild says. I love that when you're in the mess, or when you're in some heaviness, is honor it. What is it there to show you? It's there to teach you or to move you forward, but also it's this and this, what else can you hold in the mess that is, beautiful or expansive or moving you forward, that is also happening at the same time. So it's being able to know yourself enough that, when you are in a state of mind, whether it is in a heaviness or you're ruminating, that rumination is going on and on. When you are in your bliss or ecstasy, or even, what is possible in this situation, then you're not necessarily in the heaviness of woe is me or victimhood or that kind of thing. You're like, okay, I accept this challenge is here, but also I get to hold this kind of conscious level or frequency at the same time.
Mm. I love what you said, and I want to riff on that a little bit, where you said it's not always, you can't always be in that state. It's impossible. It's like you're high on life. Like it is not about perfection. It is not about always embodying that state. It's about knowing how to come back to that state, knowing that state is always available to you, because now I know what it feels like to be in that state. I
Yes.
know what it feels like to be ecstatically alive and to feel turned on by life. I know that feeling, and I know it's available at any time. So, yes, go through your shit, go through your shadows, go through your purging. It can get really messy and ugly, and it's fucking beautiful at the same time. And then come back to that state. Having those tools to come back to that state, having those resources to know how to come back, right? It's not
Yeah.
always being, and that's not even real, right?
Mm.
For me to be here and say I'm always in that ecstatic aliveness, and always, no. 2 days ago I was going through a fucking heavy process and removing shit from my body, and I'm like, bleh, I just want to throw up, and it's not always pretty. It's not always pretty, right? But I know how to come back. I know it's innate. We have it in us. It's not, and one thing I want to add to that, it's not something that is, again, outside of us. Like, it's not something that we need to learn. It's a remembering. It's a remembering. All innately know how to embody that ecstasy, right? It's just
Mm.
remembering. And part of what we're going to do in the ecstasy experience is to activate those codes of remembering within us to really bring us home to ourselves, right? Because ecstasy is home. Oof, I need to write. Ecstasy is home. Pleasure is home. All of that is home. It's feeling at home in our bodies
Yeah.
and in our lives.
And I think we're all getting to rewire with the feeling of, heaviness, trauma, feeling sad, or that you aren't in a state of bliss or pleasure. We know what that feels like. And so to be able to now start to turn and hold the capacity more of even joy or contentment. It doesn't have to be always, like a higher state per se, but can you just be content in the moment, even though you're still learning through trials, or, finding what is exciting in your day? That we're starting to really take the body, I don't love the word nervous system, because, just that nervous part is like our support system, our body, the biological connection of our body is that we're learning how to hold the frequency of happiness and joy and delight even more often than the others, because we're really learning how to access our own selves and our body, and that we're not at the, whatever happens outside of us, or the things coming in. It's like, we don't need to be in this protective kind of mode anymore. It's like flip the energy from your heart, and kind of like the Care Bear stare. It's like if you're putting that out into the field, as we're reading the biofield, it's like, this is the energy or the state that I want to be in. And then you become a magnet. And the things you want that are more delicious in your life than the opposite start to be present more and more. And it's really exciting to see.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you said. It's like I get to choose to be in the state. I get to choose. It's your choice. How empowering is that? I get
Mhm.
to choose the state, right? And so many beautiful gifts come out of that, right? Part of it is, and I love the support system. I'm going to be using that because, nervous system. Yes, I see, I hear it now. So your support system gets regulated through that energy of pleasure, right? Living orgasmically helps support a deregulated nervous system. And
Mhm.
also your aura, right? So we all have an electromagnetic field around us. That field and is also a shield, right? That shield that protects us from lower frequencies, and also that field that when amplified through this energy of ecstasy and pleasure, makes you magnetic and radiant to literally everything you desire, whether it's love, abundance, opportunities, connections, friendships, whatever it is that you're calling into your life that you're desiring. When you're in that energy of ecstasy and pleasure, it just flows to you. You magnetize it, right?
Yeah.
You magnetize it, and it's really powerful, really,
Mm-hmm.
and it deepens your connections. There's so much, and I can go on and on and on listing out all the beautiful benefits and the results and the gifts of living and embodying that ecstasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's an awesome explanation. Celibacy, sexuality, and religion, please talk more about that, because I lived in that kind of life. Christine, my friend, knows what I talk about. Do you want to take that one first, and I can talk a little bit about celibacy as well, because
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the body has a biological, natural connection to ecstasy and maybe even orgasm, like depending on your cycles in the month. And so there are waves, and it just depends on how you're accessing that for yourself. So where if you're choosing to be celibate, that's okay. That's your choice, definitely. But be mindful of the waves in your body. And so if you're like, okay, I'm choosing to be celibate, then you have a wave and you go and access, sexuality or some kind of pleasure in a way that is going to bring on more shame because you said, well, I was going to be celibate.
Mhm.
Then, be mindful of that, because it's just going to bring you further down that shame rabbit hole, right? Of like not feeling good enough. Or it's really learning how to access and know your own body and know what to do in those moments. Like, whether it's self-pleasure or even just having a shower or a bath. And this isn't even around sexuality, in the sense of just be grateful for your body and how it works. Thank you, heart, that I don't have to remember, for it to beat. Thank you, lungs, that you continue to breathe for me and I don't need to remember. Thank you, sentient body, I'll even say, that you're reading the field and you are either moving me toward or away from things that are good for me or not good for me. And just like accessing all those parts in the body, you can even, this is a really good, I call it the shower self-love and activity, is like whenever you've got something heavy or you're wanting to move through something, just imagine it going down the drain, right, when you're in the shower, but then always coming back into gratitude and what you're grateful for in the moment is going to help shift you into that higher state where it feels good with you. And so it's, yeah, I would say, that's what I have to say around the celibacy, sexuality. As far as religion, that is a really big, huge topic for sure. But again, is what you said earlier, is it mine? Right? So if you're having a thought around, I should do this or shouldn't do, I love, that SMC, I don't know how, Manus 3, McManus, is saying, I totally resonate with the good girl, or yeah, good girl energy, good boy energy, right? Be a good girl, be a good boy. And it's like,
Mm,
okay, well, where is that coming from? Is it a manipulation to get you to do what I want you to do? Is it, having to live, under a certain kind of stereotype of, well, I go to church, then I need to be this kind of good
mhm.
girl. We lived in that. I lived in that for over 40 years. And oh my gosh, when I let that go finally and could feel liberated, hallelujah, like it was good, of like, I don't need to be under the watchful eye of someone else based on my actions. It's like, honor myself, do no harm to others, definitely, but to be in that space where you can enjoy yourself as long as you're not hurting other people. And it's in the not even confines, because not that we're limiting ourselves, but that you can be in a space of expanding yourself, as long, again, as you're not hurting other people.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah, that good girl, oh my goodness, so overrated, so overrated. How many stories have we been told about,
Yep.
right, the benefits of being the good girl?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty, do what you're told, and everything will be fine, right?
Yep.
A break free from that conditioning and that narrative takes some work, but it is very, very possible. And once you're liberated from that, holy, she comes in sometimes, the good girl, but I notice her, right? I'm aware of her and I notice her and I'm like, yeah, nope.
I find she's a
Oh,
performer.
yeah.
When she's coming in, it's to perform, to be liked or accepted, or to not be rejected or abandoned.
There's a
Yeah.
fear, yeah, there is a fear behind it, right? Why are we the good girl? Because we're afraid that we're not going to be accepted and loved for who we truly, right? And
Mm.
yeah, I mean, my journey is I would say it's similar, where I saved myself because that's what I was told a good girl would do. I saved myself for marriage. I was engaged, and that's when I gave myself to my then soon to be husband. And he ended up being my only partner for 17 years. And I remember thinking during my marriage, is this it?
Mm.
Is this what it be? Is this what it's supposed to feel like? Because I was so numb. I was so numb, right? I was so blocked by the shame and the guilt of I just didn't feel much, right? I didn't feel much. In general, I was not in my body for those 17 years. And so when I started walking this path and then I left my marriage, I went a little wild because I was so deprived. And I started studying Tantra and I went deep into that work. And I realized how deprived I was and what kind of sensations and pleasure was accessible to me and how healing and alchemizing that pleasure was. And so I did go wild for a little while. And then I just stopped cold turkey and I intuitively knew I needed to go celibate. And this is not everyone's journey. This was my personal path. And I didn't know how long I would be celibate for. Now, what you said before was very powerful, where that celibacy was very intentional. It wasn't shame based or guilt based. It was, I need to be in my own energy. I cannot allow another man's energy into my space. I need to cleanse my womb for my divine partner and my beloved for the future and for other things and other co-creations, right? So I really knew, I didn't know how long that celibacy would last. It ended up being 2 years plus. But stories where during that celibacy, I experienced pleasure like I never had before. I explored pleasure. I explored my body. I explored connections. It was so beautiful. And so being in my current partnership, I'm able to feel and experience those because of the 2 years I took to really get intimate with myself. That intimacy is the into me I see, right? I really spent that time understanding where my blocks were, what was holding me back from that expansiveness, what was holding me back from that ecstatic aliveness, understanding my body, purging that good girl, right? She needed to go. She needed to go. And so that, if that feels like it's part of your journey, there's something very beautiful and spiritual about celibacy if it's intentional. And celibate doesn't mean you're the good girl not experiencing pleasure wholly. Like the amount of self-love making that I experienced during this 2 years allowed me to really embody that ecstasy, allowed me to really embody that self-love and that self-compassion in a deeper
Mm-hmm.
the relationship I'm in now, right? To be able to appreciate what I'm experiencing now, to open me up, right?
So good. Well, that sexual energy is from the sacral. It is God's energy. It's life force energy, and you're moving it through. So for those who are shut down for whatever reason, is like the more you can connect yourself and into that kind of energy, you are connecting to God on a deeper level. So it's so fascinating that religion told us to not access that energy, because if we did, we'd be even more connected to God. And even, I think it was Joe Dispenza or someone had done a brain study, whether you pray, orgasm, or meditate, your brain lights up the same way.
Mm.
So it's just like one. Yeah.
It's so true. It's like I do when I have those real tantric orgasms, and we're not talking about genital sneezes, which is, a lot of what I teach is a lot of women who have experienced orgasms, unfortunately, are just genital sneezes. And they're like, oh, I had an orgasm. And I'm like, no, when you have those cosmic orgasms, like full body, like it is a merging with God. It is the closest thing to merging with the God frequency. And like you said, it's the very thing that religion has told us is wrong and sinful and shameful. But that's the very thing that brings you closer to the God and the source energy that we are so innately weaved into, right? It's incredible. It's like almost like when I realized that, it was like a massive aha moment, like mind blown. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
know?
I am excited to be in the Ecstasy event and to be one of the speakers. And I'm just gonna, put a little teaser out there for the audience that's listening. Is I think on the day that I'm speaking, we chat about definitely blocks to bliss. I'm going to bring in some German new medicine, what can be happening in the brain and the biological of why you may be shut down or feeling a little bit cut off from that aspect. But also, let's talk about yoni massage, because that was something that Carine is trained in, and I got to be a lucky recipient of. And so we'll save the details, the juicy details, for my chat, because I would really love to share how healing that was and all of the things that I moved through, which goes exactly with the blocks and where I was blocked and what we were able to discover. So if it's okay, share with us, what is the Ecstasy event and how's it going to work and where do people sign up?
Beautiful. I'm going to post the link to it. So the Ecstasy Experience that is happening from October 28th to November the 4th is a free initiation. It's a free journey for women. I mean, men can join as well if they'd like to, but is definitely geared towards women to really awaken and activate their innate pleasure, their divine power, and to really notice where your blocks to bliss are, right? The blocks that are preventing you from really embodying this ecstasy. And it's not just me holding space. This is a beautiful, magical co-creation with some powerful, badass teachers and women that I know, Christine being one of them, my dear friend Amy Ann. There's 10 beautiful, powerful facilitators that are joining me on this. And it's entirely free because I believe that this stuff needs to be accessible. This work, this wisdom, these activation codes that you are going to receive during this event are going to be transformational and life-changing, and it's meant to be accessible to every woman who wants to be there. So if you're feeling blocked, and like Sarah mentioned, the good girl energy, if you're feeling blocked, if you feel like you don't feel fully expanded in your pleasure, and this is the event for you. If you're wanting and desiring that liberation, that activation, that freedom, wanting to embody that joy and that bliss, which is your birthright, join us, and join us live to be in that frequency. There's going to be daily activations, daily wisdom talks, interviews. We're going to give it our all in this event. Like, I am showing up every single day, dropping nuggets of wisdom, activations. It's going to be epic. Oh,
Love
yeah,
it.
down there. Yes, beautiful. So,
So I put in your Instagram, but if you can pop in the link,
yeah,
then that would be
I'll
awesome.
pop in the link. If you would like the link or you can't see it, please DM either one of us. Leading up to the event, we're going to be doing a bunch of lives with the speakers, Christine being one of them. And so there's going to be lots of beautiful, beautiful content that's going to be presented. So follow us on Instagram. Stay connected. Stay tuned in. October 28th, November the 4th. You do not want to miss this. I promise you, it's going to be juicy and transformational.
Absolutely. And clearing those blocks to bliss.
Whew. Yes. Living orgasmically ever after. I channeled that the other day. I was recording a song with my producer, and he was like, oh, and now we're going to live happily ever after. I don't remember what he was talking about. And I was like, no, we're going to live orgasmically ever after. The end. And I'm like, shit, I need to do a post on I feel like that can living.
Can you play your song right now? Do you have access to another device that Instagram will pick up the sound for your song? Ecstasy is my prayer.
Song. I mean, I can play it on my laptop. I should be able to play it on my laptop and my speaker.
Yeah, let's see. See if you can add it into this live. It's so good. I've been listening to it. I created a playlist with it.
It's gonna be the theme song for Ecstasy Experience. So the song is called "Ecstasy Is My Prayer." So
Mm.
I did a beautiful Dakini training with Lauren Harkness, if anybody knows her from the Tantra Institute. Brilliant, brilliant teacher. And in there, we watched this movie about dakinis, and I just felt it. I said, I need to create a song that's called Ecstasy Is My Prayer, because that is our devotion. Ecstasy. I am devoted to a life of ecstasy. That is
Cool.
it. That's my devotion, and I'm fully, wholly committed to it. So let me turn on my speakers. Let's see if this works.
Okay.
a few weeks.
To Lauren, if you have it.
There you go.
And if anyone's listening, she's also in a song, the Leo Anthem. If you look up Indigo Prophet on YouTube, and then the Leo Anthem, it's Carine's song or voice in the song as well, the woman's voice. Just your voice is so powerful.
Thanks. Can you hear it?
Yep.
Is that okay volume-wise? So I invite everybody to just close your eyes and really feel the song, feel the music. It's an activation, it's not a song. In the temple of my soul, I dance with ecstasy. Tantric Dakini, priestess of divinity. My body moves in rhythm, a sacred symphony. With every breath I'm free, I'm one with eternity. Ecstasy is my breath in the moonlight desert air. I channel ancient power in every sacred hour. With each touch we awaken, in love we are unshaken. I'm the goddess in flesh, in my temple I pledge. I must confess. Hieroglyphs upon my skin, tales of alchemy within. My eyes reflect the stars. I'm guided by my heart. A pathway of fear. Let's reclaim all command. As above, so below. In this rapture, I glow. Ecstasy is my breath in the moonlight desert air. I channel ancient power in every sacred hour. With each touch we awaken, in love we are unshaken. I'm the goddess in flesh, in my temple I place. Serpentine movements I embrace. Lost in trance, I find my grace. I am the phoenix rising higher. In this ecstatic flame, I am the fire. Ecstasy is my breath in the moonlight desert air. I channel ancient power in every sacred hour. With each touch we awaken, in love we are unshaken. I'm the goddess in flesh, in my temple I bless. In the silence of the night, where shadows dance with light, we invoke the ancient rites, embracing passion's might. We are weavers of light and sound with forms so bright. Through depths of ecstasy, we unlock the hidden key to heal the world and set it free in devotion to pleasure's alchemy. In the sands of time, I leave my trace as a priestess of love in a sacred space. Ecstasy is my prayer forevermore.
Feel the power.
When you get turned on by your own voice, it's a good sign. I was like full on having energetic orgasms while I was listening to that, because it was a channel. It was a full on channeling of that song, and I felt it. So I hope you enjoyed that. I would love to hear what you thought and what you felt when you listened to the song. And thank you for allowing me to play that. I didn't even think about it, but thank you for allowing me to share that, because it is definitely, it was fully channeled. Like, I sat within an hour with all the lyrics, and it all just flowed through me while I was
Wow.
intense detox. Like, it just came out of me, and it was like God speaking through me. Like, I needed to create the song. It had to come out.
I can't wait to be at a women's circle or in an ecstatic dance floor and to hear that song come through and be like, yes.
Okay. Yeah. When that happens. So
Thank you. You got a nice comment. Beautiful, tingly everywhere.
good.
Yeah.
Yay.
That's one of those ones when you're home alone and you can just like turn it up and crank it. Yeah. So powerful.
Oh, I love it. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
thank you, my love, for this. This is so beautiful. I always love chatting with you and connecting with you and sharing our medicine. I hope everybody listening received the medicine of whatever we were serving today, and we were of service to you. And I really would love to see each and every one of you at the Ecstasy Experience receiving more medicine, more magic, more activations, more initiations. Let's rise up together. Let's do this together. We're all in this together, right? These are
Absolutely.
intense times. So we gotta stick together. We can't go at it.
Mm-hmm.
We need that community. We need that support. We need that love.
Yeah. Especially if you do this work, to know that you are supported. You're not out there by yourself. Yeah, it's very powerful.
100%. Eric,
Mm-hmm.
just thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Lots of love. Thanks to everyone who's here live or watching the replay. And yeah, we'll see more of you on October 28th as a start.
Excited. Excited. So jazzed up. You're so welcome, Zoom in. Mwah. Love you all.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye bye.